About half of the bunkers now have been shaped and the bases have been grubbed out. Here we are on the 18th, and you can see that actually this bunker now is pretty much prepped and ready for the base layers to go down and then for the sand to be added. So all the drainage has been put in, and the lads have now gone and just tidied them up. We need to spray off all the bases to kill any weeds that's still there, and then basically we're going to get some artificial turf, which we're going to use as our base layer. We're going to lay that down on the bunkers, leaving the drainage channels exposed, and then we'll be adding 3 inches of sand to the bunkers. Some bunkers aren't at this stage yet, and as we go around the golf course we'll show you where some of the different bunkers are at different stages. But like I say, this one is now pretty much ready to go, and we'll be done within the next couple of weeks. So this is the sand that we're going to be using in the bunkers. It's called Heathland Wash. As you can see, it's very fine. Quite a nice light colour as well, so will really stand out when hitting your approach shots from the tee and into the greens. So this green has been constructed exactly the same as all the other holes on phase 1, but was only seeded in about September time, so obviously it's probably about a year behind say the greens sort of on the 1st and the 18th, etc. But as you can see, the grass sward is really good, it's really healthy. We're now cutting down at 15 millimetres. By the time we get to July the 10th, we're going to be down to about 4 or 5 millimetres. So obviously we've still got a long way to go, but the good thing is actually they're looking really healthy, and like I say, the grass sward is really good. So again, these are all USGA spec greens. So 90-10 sand soil mix underneath, and then we've got about 80% fescue and 20% bent grasses. 2 really good, strong, fine grasses to produce some really good playing surfaces. Also, they require less nutrients and less water, which again, being on a conservation site, is going to be excellent going forward. So each green is probably roughly around 550 square metres, so slightly bigger than average. And there is some very severe undulations on some of them, so we're going to have to be quite friendly with some of our pin positions, and also we can get quite nasty with some of our pin positions, which I think actually, you know, the golf course isn't the longest in the world, so actually just to have a little bit of defence with the undulations in the greens is going to really make it a tricky golf course for its length. I think in the winter time the guys have planted close to now 150 what we'd call established trees, so you know, sort of 15 to 20 foot trees, all different varieties: oaks, pines, maples, hornbeams, all different sizes and shapes, and the good thing is that it's really going to give the golf course some character when we open up in July. Obviously we're lucky that there's a lot of existing woodlands around, but with some of the new areas, just to get some new trees in to break up some of the holes, and again, obviously brilliant for the birds, etc. And you know, just really add some colour to the golf course as well. So you know, it will be something that will be continued in the winter as well. We'll plant even more, probably another 100 or so will go in next winter, and so on until we get to where we want to be. We work very closely with some ecology experts, and they've advised us to take them down to 3 metres. We don't need to go any lower than that, it doesn't affect play. And also, as you can see down on the bases, we've just laid all the brush cuttings down sideways. This is brilliant for ecology going forward. It's brilliant for the insects and for any dormouse that are in there. Rather than just bunch it up into one big pile, actually just laying it across gives them a little run to go through. And like I say, some people would say it looks a bit untidy, but actually the benefits that it will give the environment in the long run is going to be really good. There's some areas that we hope to get to before opening. Obviously the guys have been really busy all winter with tree planting and stuff, so and bunker work, so we haven't been able to get to all the areas that we want to. But certainly areas like that we'll go through and we'll make them playable before opening, and then as we get into this winter and then the following winters, we'll start to thin some of them areas out, and like you say, clear the undergrowth and then just make them more playable, but also visually you'll be able to see through them onto other holes as well, so it just makes them feel a little bit more open. So this is an area that's washed down over the winter, where the fairway was seeded so late last year, it didn't have time to establish, and then obviously had quite a lot of heavy rain at times during the winter, so actually suffered with some wash down. But what's actually great is an area that actually we kind of thought was going to cause us some problems, actually we've looked at and gone, well actually let's use this to our advantage, and that's clearly where the water wants to go. So we're going to turn it into a little open ditch. It will only be a couple of foot wide, so again it won't massively impact on play, but it will give you something to think about as you hit your tee shot and your second shot. And also then going forward, if we have any trouble with some areas on the fairways land a bit wet, we can put some extra drainage in and drain it into here, and then get it running down nice cleanly into the lake. So that's something that's going to be done in the next few weeks, and again ready for opening in July. Where the fairways have been too soft to be able to get on, like I say, where they were seeded so late last year, they didn't have time to establish. They were able to get a quick cut and a roll towards the end of last year, but then pretty much from December, January, February, we had to just leave them alone. And it's been really nice. We've been able to come out a couple of weeks ago with the hand mower and just cut them by hand, just to slowly get the height down. And then last week we were able to get a couple of cuts with the big semi-rough mower on them. And as you can tell, there's plenty of grass coverage on there, which is great. Going forward, as we're doing on phase one as well, we're going to be doing a lot of top dressing just to try and get the consistency there on the surface. And then also we'll just be reducing the height of cut. At the moment we're about 1.5 inches, 1 3/4 inches. And again, come July the 10th, we're going to be down to about 13 to 15 millimetres, so we've still got a long way to go. But the good thing is, if the weather stays like this, then it'll be absolutely fine. So basically, we're going to be taking out the 10th hole, which we see as kind of one of our weaker holes. It's quite a short par 4. So that hole will be gone eventually, and the new 10th hole will run down the bottom side of this new bit of land. A natural wetland area will run all the way along this low point down the left-hand side, and then played into a green in the corner where there'll be another lake added to the left-hand side. The hole will be about 450 from the championship tees, and then slightly less obviously from the tee of the day, and a bit shorter from the ladies' tee. And then just on the higher side of the new land, we'll have a par 5, what will be the new 11th hole, which will play back up towards the top of the hill, and then there'll be a green set in just behind where the 10th green is currently. It will be a par 5, so obviously it'll kind of be a risk reward. Do you go for it in 2 shots or don't you? And again, that will then play up, and then you'll go across to what is currently the 11th tee, what will be the new 12th hole. This won't happen probably for a couple of years. Obviously we've got to do all the development, but hopefully within 2 years' time, these 2 new holes will be ready, and the golf course we feel will be a lot stronger for it. The other hole that will be gone will be the 15th, which again is a par 3, and obviously at the moment we already have 7 par 3s, so to lose one of them is not a big deal. And in total we're going to gain about 500 yards across the golf course, which will take us up somewhere in the region of about 6,500 yards in total, which again makes us a lot stronger golf course going forward.